Hey everyone, did you know that over 90% of you watching right now haven't hit that subscribe button? If you enjoy our content, take a second to subscribe. It's free and it really helps us keep bringing you great stories every day. It started with little things. Late night texts she claimed were from her boss. Subtle silences when I asked how her day went. A hesitant kiss on the cheek instead of a hug when I got home from a grueling 12-hour shift. As a critical care nurse, I see life and death every day, but I wasn't prepared for the slow death of trust in my own home. My name's Marcus. I've spent the last 15 years building a life I thought was unshakable. A good job, two wonderful kids, a house that still smells faintly of fresh paint, and a marriage that, until recently, I believed was solid. My wife Tessa teaches at a private school. Smart, graceful, dependable. Or so I thought. And the man who would ultimately fracture everything. Her sister's husband. My brother-in-law. Paul. Yeah, that one still stings. I didn't set out to uncover a betrayal. Honestly, I wasn't looking for anything at all. My days are long, my nights are short, and all I really want is to see my kids laugh and hold my wife while we fall asleep watching cooking shows. But when the truth started cracking through the surface, I couldn't ignore it. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday. I remember because I'd stayed late after a code blue trying to comfort the son of a patient who didn't make it. I came home exhausted. My scrub still smelled like antiseptic and sorrow. Tessa wasn't home, no text, no call. Our daughter Lila said she'd gone to a teacher dinner, but when I glanced at the calendar on the fridge, there was no mention of it. Just family night scribbled in blue ink. I wanted to believe she forgot to text. Maybe her phone died. Maybe I was overreacting. But something inside me whispered otherwise. It's strange what the mind holds on to. The next morning, I noticed her perfume was different. Not a brand she normally wore. I asked about it casually. She smiled and said, "Oh, a student's mom gave it to me as a thank you." The lie was so smooth it scared me more than the scent itself. That's when I started paying attention. I didn't snoop, not at first. I didn't check her phone or tail her car. I just watched, observed, took mental notes. Nurses are trained to notice subtle shifts, vital signs, tone of voice, body language. And what I saw in my own home was alarming. She started taking calls in the laundry room. Her screen would flip face down when I entered the room. And when I touched her, even gently, she'd flinch like I was a stranger. One night, I caught a name on her phone. Paul. She said it was about a surprise party for her sister, said they were planning something together. I smiled, nodded, but something twisted in my gut. Paul had always been friendly. Too friendly, maybe, the kind of guy who talks with his hands and holds eye contact a beat too long. But I never suspected anything. He was married to Natalie, Tessa's younger sister, and we were all close. Birthday parties, Sunday barbecues, joint family vacations. Our kids grew up like cousins. If I'd had a brother, I used to think I'd want him to be like Paul. The irony would be funny if it didn't ache so much. Eventually, I did something I never thought I would. I checked Tessa's phone while she was in the shower. My hands shook as I scrolled. I felt sick before I even found anything. And then, there it was, texts, dozens, weeks worth. Nothing outright vulgar, nothing you could wave in court and call adultery, but the tone was unmistakable, inside jokes, late-night heart emojis. I missed last Tuesday. You looked amazing in that dress. Can't stop thinking about you. My heart pounded, but my body felt cold, like all the blood had drained from me. I sat on the edge of the bed, her phone in my lap, listening to the water run. And I realized something that changed everything. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want a screaming match or broken dishes or neighbors calling the cops. I didn't want my children to wake up one day to a house full of bitterness and rage. What I wanted was clarity, dignity, a plan. And so I put the phone back. When Tessa came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming softly, I smiled, kissed her on the forehead, told her I loved her. She smiled back, but her eyes didn't reach me. That weekend, I called Natalie, Paul's wife, under the pretense of needing help planning a school fundraiser. We met at a local cafe, and I could tell she knew something was wrong. Her voice was tighter, her smile a little forced. I looked her in the eye and asked, "Do you trust Paul?" She didn't answer. Not right away. Then she looked down at her coffee, fingers tightening around the cup. I don't know anymore, she whispered. I nodded, and then gently I showed her the screenshots I'd taken. Natalie didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stared. And then she asked me the one question I hadn't let myself consider. What do we do now? And that right there became the start of something unexpected. Not vengeance, not drama. Something stronger, wiser. A quiet alliance between two people who refused to let deceit define the rest of their lives or their children's. We agreed to take it slow. Observe, protect, plan. Natalie began checking Paul's GPS history. I reviewed our finances. I made a quiet appointment with a family attorney, framed as estate planning. We spoke to a therapist, not about the affair, but about how to create emotional safety for our children during family transitions. I started journaling too. At first, just scribbles of anger and heartbreak. But then something more focused. Memories. Thoughts about what kind of man I wanted to be, even when others weren't who I thought they were. There was one entry I wrote over and over again. You can't control how someone loves you, but you can control how you carry yourself when they stop. The hardest part was pretending. Sitting at dinner while Tessa laughed at something on her phone. Listening to her read bedtime stories. Watching her pretend everything was fine, while I knew her heart was elsewhere. But I didn't confront her, not yet. Because this wasn't just about me. It was about our kids, our families, the lives we built. And I wasn't going to burn it all down out of emotion. I was going to move with precision, with care. Natalie and I began documenting everything. Dates, times, screenshots, quietly redirecting our shared finances into separate accounts. Preparing for the inevitable, not just legally, but emotionally. It's funny how calm betrayal can make you. Not numb, just clear. The man I was a month ago would have wept in the shower, begged for answers, raised his voice. The man I am now. He listens, he breathes, he builds a foundation for what's coming. Because I'm not staying in a lie, but I'm not walking out in chaos either. I'm walking forward, with truth, with grace, and with my children's future in mind. And Tessa has no idea what's coming next. Some mornings I stare at her across the breakfast table and wonder if she can feel it, the distance. I pour her coffee just the way she likes it. A splash of oat milk, 2 sugars. She smiles, thanks me, and scrolls through her phone like everything is normal. Like she hasn't been stepping out of our marriage one text, one touch, one lie at a time. I'm not sure what hurts more, the betrayal itself or the quiet way she carries on, believing I haven't noticed. It's been a month since I discovered the messages, since I quietly joined forces with Natalie, my sister-in-law, to prepare for the unraveling of the life we thought we had. She's been calm, focused, stronger than I expected. I guess pain has a way of clarifying things. Our kids, mine and Tessa's, hers and Paul's, still laugh together in the backyard, oblivious to the cracks beneath their feet. We haven't told them anything. We won't until the time is right. That's the pact Natalie and I made. Protect the kids first, confront the truth second. Every day feels like a balancing act. I go to work and care for patients with failing hearts, failing lungs, fighting to keep them alive. And then I come home to a house where something has already died. I move through my shifts like a ghost sometimes, wearing a smile I don't feel. My coworkers say I'm more quiet lately. Everything okay at home? They ask. I nod, always nod. But something has shifted in me. I've stopped hoping Tessa will come clean. She won't. She's too deep in it now, too practiced in her deception. If she felt any guilt, it's long since been buried under layers of rationalization. She thinks I'm still in the dark. That's fine. It gives me time. Natalie and I meet once a week, always in public, always with a purpose. This week it was a parent volunteer meeting at the school. We sat at the edge of the playground while the kids climbed the jungle gym. I found a hotel receipt, she whispered. They met up last Friday, while Paul told me he was at a golf fundraiser. I didn't flinch, didn't say anything right away. Then I said, it's getting closer. We need to decide how this ends. She nodded slowly. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I'm protecting the house, the kids' accounts, and I've opened my own. I told her I'd done the same. It's strange how betrayal can turn two people into partners. There's no romance here, just a quiet respect, a shared goal, dignity, peace, and safety for our children and for ourselves. The hard part is pretending. Every moment around Tessa is an act now. Every smile I give is calculated. Every compliment rehearsed. I'm not doing it to hurt her. I'm doing it to keep the ground steady until I'm ready to speak. And I will speak. But I want the truth to fall like a curtain, not a bomb. One night, about a week ago, she came home late. Said she stayed after school to help with curriculum planning. I nodded, pretending to believe her, but I already knew where she'd been. Natalie had sent me a photo. Paul's car parked near the boutique hotel off Route 7. When she walked into the kitchen, her cheeks were flushed, her voice breezy. She poured herself a glass of wine, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Missed you today." I looked at her for a moment. "I missed you too," I said. It wasn't a lie. I missed the version of her that used to love me honestly. Later that night, I stood in the doorway of our kids' room, watching them sleep. Lila had her arm draped over her brother, Eli. Their soft breathing, the rise and fall of their little chests. It reminded me what all of this is for. Not revenge, not punishment. Legacy. I don't want them to grow up surrounded by emotional wreckage. I want them to see that strength isn't loud. That when someone wrongs you, you don't have to sink to their level to rise above it. That weekend, I took them to the park while Tessa said she had errands. I watched Lila push Eli on the swings and wondered what their lives would look like a year from now. 2 houses, 2 holidays. Hard conversations, but I knew one thing for sure. I'd make sure their lives stayed full of love. That same evening, Natalie texted. He bought flowers, took them to her school. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I put my phone down and went to make dinner. A few days later, Natalie and I sat down with a counselor, one who specializes in family restructuring. We told her the basics, no dramatics, just facts. She listened, then asked us what we wanted. I want peace, Natalie said. I want truth, I added. Then you'll need structure, the counselor said. Boundaries, plans, and a script for the kids when the time comes. So we began drafting it. No blame, no war stories. Just a gentle explanation that sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. That the most important thing is that they are safe, loved, and not at fault. The counselor also asked us to consider mediation. You don't want to let this play out in court if you can avoid it, she warned, especially with kids involved. I agreed. Quietly. I'd already started documenting everything. Bank statements, photos, text logs. I wasn't going to spring it all at once. I wasn't even sure I'd need to. But I wasn't walking into this blind. That night, after the kids were asleep, Tessa and I sat in the living room, watching TV. A cooking show, the kind we used to laugh over. She reached for my hand. I let her. She leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Remember when we used to dream about opening a cafe?" I nodded. I remember. We even had a notebook. Ideas, menu names, paint colors. She still has it tucked in a drawer somewhere. Funny how we can plan a life together, only to watch it fall apart while the dream stays shelved and dusted. I didn't say anything. I just let the silence hold us. Later, lying in bed beside her, I realized something else. I wasn't angry anymore, not like I used to be. The sharp pain had softened into resolve. I wasn't here to punish. I was here to guide the ending, because endings matter. You don't rip the bandage off someone's soul and expect them to be okay. You sit down, you look them in the eye, and you tell them the truth. Calmly, fully, and with the same honesty they denied you. The next day I went to the bank, finalized some accounts, made copies of important papers, life insurance, wills, birth certificates, quietly transferring utilities into my name. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and practiced what I'd say to her. Not loud, not cruel, just real. Tessa, I know about you and Paul. I've known for a while, and I've been giving you space to come clean. But since you haven't, I will. I want to move forward, with respect, for both of us, and for our children. I said it out loud, over and over, until it no longer trembled in my mouth, and then I waited for the moment. It came a few days later. Natalie called. Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor underneath. He's coming home late tonight. Said he had a work meeting. I'm going to confront him. Are you sure? I asked. I'm sure. I swallowed. Then I'll talk to Tessa tomorrow. She paused. We'll get through this. We will, I said. Just not the way we thought we would. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was scared, because I was ready. I watched the sun rise through the kitchen window, the same view I'd stared at every morning for the past 10 years. But this morning, it looked different, like the beginning of something, not the end. I heard her footsteps upstairs, getting ready, her day beginning, and I knew. Tomorrow, everything would change. But not because of a fight, not because of drama, because I was done pretending and I was ready to reclaim my life with quiet strength, unshaken dignity, and the full truth. There's a silence that follows truth, a kind of stillness that settles over everything when there's nothing left to hide. It's not peaceful exactly, it's raw, like the air after a storm, heavy with the scent of things that were torn open. That's what the house felt like the morning after I told her. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we shared pancakes with the kids just days ago. My hands were still folded in front of me. I'd already spoken. There was nothing else to say unless she asked. And for the first few minutes, she said nothing at all. She just stared at me. Tessa, I began again gently, I'm not here to punish you. I'm not even angry anymore. I just want us both to be honest. Her eyes were glassy. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally whispered, How long have you known? A while, I said. Long enough to grieve it in private. Her hands trembled as she gripped the back of the chair. I didn't mean to. I never wanted to hurt you. I believe you, I said, and I meant it. But you did. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away, as if holding on to the last fragments of composure she had left. I didn't plan any of this, she whispered. It just happened. I felt alone, and he listened. I would have listened too, I said, not harshly, just honestly. If you had talked to me instead of him. She sat down slowly. I could see the weight pressing down on her, the shame, the fear, maybe even relief. Paul? I asked softly. She nodded. It's over, it's been over. We haven't, not in weeks. I nodded. Natalie knows. Her eyes snapped up. That hit her. She does? I nodded again. She confronted him last night. Tessa looked down at her lap. She didn't argue, didn't defend him. Maybe she knew better than to try. What now? She finally asked. We talk about the kids, I said. We talk about what this next chapter looks like. For them. For us. I'm not here to scream or drag you through a courtroom. I just want to move forward with clarity. That was the word I kept coming back to. Clarity. After months of fog and doubt and playing detective in my own home, I wanted the path ahead to be clean, even if it would never be easy. We agreed to spend the next few days living as normal for the children's sake. No sudden announcements, no new sleeping arrangements, just enough time to prepare. Later that night, Natalie called. Paul had confessed. After a short denial and a few pathetic excuses, he folded. He was sleeping in the guest room now. She hadn't decided whether to ask him to leave yet. He keeps saying he didn't think it would go this far, she said. I don't even think he knows what this is. I'm sorry, I told her. She let out a long sigh. Funny how our marriages ended the same night. No, I said. They ended long before that. We just finally acknowledged it. Over the next week, Tessa and I had several difficult conversations. Sometimes quiet, sometimes tearful, but never explosive. I think we both knew the damage was done, and now it was about salvage. Not of the marriage, but of the co-parenting bond we would need to build. She agreed to mediation. We met with a counselor and 2 legal advisors, neutral, calm professionals who helped us map a path forward that protected our children and avoided unnecessary conflict. We set a timeline. I would stay in the house until the end of the school year, then transition to a rental nearby. She would keep the family home, primarily because it was closer to the kids' school. I made peace with that. My priority wasn't square footage or spite, it was stability for the kids. And speaking of the kids, that was the hardest part. We sat them down one quiet Sunday morning, just after breakfast. Natalie did the same in her home with her own two children. I'll never forget the way Lila looked at me, eyes wide, her little fingers clinging to her cereal spoon. "Mom and I need to tell you something," I began. "It's going to be a lot to hear, but I want you to know something before we start. We love you. That will never change." Tessa took a breath. "Your dad and I, we've decided we won't be living together anymore, but we're still a team when it comes to you and your brother. Always." Lila looked confused. Eli didn't say a word. "But are you getting divorced?" she asked. I nodded gently. "Yes, but that doesn't mean we stop being a family." "Did you stop loving each other?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Tessa swallowed hard. "Sometimes grown-ups grow in different directions, but that doesn't mean we regret our time together, especially not you and your brother. You're the best thing that ever happened to us." It was a lot for them, more than I wanted for their childhood, but they handled it with more grace than I expected. Over the next few weeks, we made small changes. I moved into a modest rental close to their school. Tessa and I created a co-parenting calendar. The kids adjusted slowly but steadily. They still had questions, and some nights were hard, but they knew they were loved, and that made all the difference. Natalie, meanwhile, filed for separation. Paul moved into a condo across town. Your kids visited him on weekends, and Natalie kept them rooted in the family home. We checked in often, shared notes, became strangely closer than we'd ever been before. There was no roadmap for any of this, just instinct, honesty, and a lot of deep breaths. One evening a few months later, I took the kids to the lake. We sat on the shore skipping stones, the sky glowing orange as the sun dipped behind the trees. Lila leaned against me. "Dad?" "Yeah, sweetheart?" "I'm glad you and Mom don't fight." I looked down at her. "Me too." "I mean, I wish you were still together," she said. "But if you're happier this way, I think that's okay." I swallowed the lump in my throat and kissed the top of her head. "Thank you." She smiled, then ran to join Eli, who was trying to build a rock tower on the water's edge. In that moment, I realized something. We don't get to choose how people hurt us, but we do get to choose how we heal. And healing, I've learned, isn't a single event. It's not a dramatic monologue or a courtroom showdown. It's quiet, steady, day by day, decision by decision. It's packing your kids' lunch and remembering their favorite juice. It's showing up to every recital, even when your heart still aches. It's shaking the hand of the man who betrayed your trust because your child is watching, and you want to show them what grace looks like. It's not erasing the past, but refusing to let it define your future. Tessa and I are no longer married, but we're still parents, still partners in that one lifelong project. Natalie has started therapy. So have I. We don't talk about Paul and Tessa much anymore, not because we're ignoring what happened, but because we've outgrown the pain they caused. Now we talk about new things. Her garden, my weekend hikes, the kids' soccer games. Life goes on. And as strange as it sounds, I'm thankful, not for the betrayal, but for the clarity it forced, for the strength I found, for the peace that came after the storm. People think strength is loud, that it's in the yelling, the confrontation, the slammed doors. But real strength? Real strength is choosing dignity when you've been disrespected. It's protecting your children's innocence even when your own has been shattered. It's holding your head high when someone else tried to bury you in silence and secrets. And it's walking away, not to escape, but to rebuild something stronger, steadier, and rooted in truth. So here I am, a father, a nurse, a man who was broken, but not beaten. Still standing, still loving, still moving forward. And for the first time in a long time, I'm free.